Hi everyone, it's Astra. I'm just going to make one more video before I take a break. I will probably be taking a break for about 4 or 5 days. It's not going to be, it's not going to be like a 2 or 3 week break or anything of the sort. I want to mention that, or I want to talk about something that I didn't think it was as dangerous as it was, so to speak. So, this actually happened on the 27th of June, 2026. Um, we didn't have a heat advisory that day. We should have. The heat index was 105 and above in the afternoon hours. And I had woken up at about 8 or 9 p.m. the previous evening on the 26th. So, you know that I have adrenergic POTS, whatever it's called, right? Um, I just based off like the systolic blood pressure on my tilt table test, most doctors would have diagnosed me with it. The heart clinic that I went to refused to because I wanted to do a bunch of fancy neurological tests, most likely so they could earn more money, like get more money out of me. But the systolic blood pressure essentially confirms it that I have the hyperandrogenic kind of POTS. And this is relevant because I stayed up all through the night on the 26th, and on the 27th, I had a surge of energy, norepinephrine. And you guessed it right. This happened after my video about the tornadoed calf. Like this happened a couple days after um the the previous attempt, right? So so yeah, basically I stayed up all throughout the night hours, and then I had a great sense of energy, and for some reason I wanted to go out in the heat. This is where the danger starts. So I wanted to go out in the heat because I don't know why. There's something about like cold, for example. I hate cold. There's something about cold that makes you really tired, but there's something about heat that keeps you awake, that keeps you alert. And even though you can technically do more about the cold, as in you could dress in layers, with the heat, it just seems more tolerable. I can't stand cold. I can't stand the idea of your hands freezing if you're not wearing mittens or gloves. And whenever you have to type on your phone or do something with your hands, you have to take your, fucking gloves off. I can't stand the cold. So, yeah, I'm in the minority of people. I know people like cold more than heat. I like heat more than cold. So, I knew it was going to be a warm day out. I knew it was going to be 105 or even above where I lived on the 27th of June when it passed over midnight. And I decided I wanted to go out in the hottest part of the day because I was impulsive. I had a bunch of energy. I don't think it was anything to do with mania or manic symptoms. I think it was just because it was too short too short of an episode to be classified as such. I think it was legitimately because I had a huge surge of energy, like a fight or flight kind of energy, and I wanted to get it out. I wanted to kind of like go and walk and do a lot of miles. And I wanted to do it so I could actually sleep because I tried laying down in the early morning hours of the 27th and I couldn't. Just so I wait until about 11:30 a.m. or 12 p.m. Now at this point it's 103 out. The real feels 103, and I just decide, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the lake. I'm gonna go to the nearby lake. It's a 5.2 mile walk, and it's on an asphalt trail or there are sidewalks. It's like kind of an asphalty, kind of like grayish sidewalk around the lake itself. and then there's like a trail that goes into the woods and everything that's not as used, not as people don't use it as much. And so I went, and a gray American Eagle cotton shirt, which traps heat because it traps, I think, the moisture under your skin from sweat, and kind of because of like the heat and the humidity in a way. It kind of, I don't know how it works, um, but basically I know that it's really not good. Um, Wearing a cotton shirt out in the heat like that. It's just not meant for weather. And I was just so impulsive that day that I had actually only brought out this. This is the only thing that I had for water. And I filled it up. I actually filled it up previously a few days before the 27th, but I forgot to use it because I went on the treadmill, and I forgot to just refill it with like cold water or whatever. So I took 12 ounces, because this cup is like 14 or 16, and it was like up to here in water. I took 12 ounces of water, and I headed out on this 5.2 mile walk. I also want you to keep in mind as well is that I regularly take like 50 milligrams of Seroquel, 150 milligrams of Lamotrigine, 200 milligrams of Spiro, sometimes zero point 0.1 clonidine, zero point 0.1, or I'm sorry, yeah, um, zero point 0.1 clonidine, 10 milligrams of propranolol, sometimes 20, things of that sort. I take estradiol. I think I mentioned all of them. Yeah. So basically, I take a lot of like antipsychotics and anticonvulsants and things of the sort. And the lake walk didn't have to be as dangerous as it did, right? There were places to sit down in the shade. There were places to refill water and things like that. For some reason, and I don't know why, I was not thinking of refilling my water. So when I actually started walking towards the lake, I was actually streaming in a voice call, in a Discord voice call, and at the beginning of my lake walk, and it felt fine because there was wind or whatever that was hitting my skin, and I thought, well, it's 103 or 105 out, but this lake here, there's wind, and so it's not that bad. It's just like some cool wind hitting your skin, which actually turned out to be very deceptive because it only gives a temporary relief. It does not actually cool you down in the way that sitting in the shade or AC does. And so I start walking, and I get to a bridge, and I'm like, you know what? This sucks. I'm just going to call. At this point, I'm off the VC, and so I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I think I'm just gonna call my dad and have him come get me. And he didn't pick up. Why? Because he was napping. And so I'm like, okay, well, my dad's not going to pick me up. I don't want to call for an Uber. And if I need to sit down or I need to just. Well, I wasn't thinking of refilling water, but there was a shop nearby and there was also a faucet. But I just winged it, basically. And I ran out of water about halfway through my walk. The 12 ounces of room temperature water. This thick hair is really, really not doing me favors. Thick, dark hair, a gray Eagle American shirt, hyper pots, taking all the meds that I do, and the deception of the wind. I go past the bridge, and then I start getting really overheated, like quite overheated. And at this point, I'm thinking, well, at first, when I was crossing the bridge, before, my dad and everything, before I was like, okay, yeah, like, my dad's not going to pick up, I was thinking, I'm just going to rush back home. I'm just going to get back home as fast as I can to be under the air conditioner. And then I'm like, you know what? What if the heat just takes me? what if the heat just takes me peacefully? Well, it would not be peacefully, but really no death is peaceful. Very few deaths, I think, are peaceful. Like heart attacks, maybe. I don't know. But I'm like, what if the heat just takes me? Because in my mind, heat has always been really like rough suffering, but also something about it isn't as bad as it seems. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to sit. And I'm out of water, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going down this trail. And I actually took a picture of what I looked like during the time. And I mean, I had dark circles under my eyes. I had a very dysphoric face, like a very sad face, like kind of terrified. But honestly, I didn't feel as terrified in the moment. I think maybe it was just me panting because I was really warm, overheated. And so I just started continuing down the trail or down the lake trail on this like kind of sidewalk kind of thing. And then I start going on a trail like back to my uh, like house basically. And I didn't see anybody on this trail, but at this point I was like dizzy. I was lightheaded. My pace was starting to slow down quite a bit. Uh, Things were getting a little blurry, not super, but a little blurry. And for some reason during this time, and I don't know why, my breathing actually started to calm down a bit. Like I wasn't actually panting as much. And it's funny because when I looked at the photos, my face was not actually red at all. It didn't look overheated at all. It looked normal. And so, but I know like I'm close to collapsing. And at the time, I was actually telling people on the LARP Mingo server actually. Yeah, I was telling them like, okay, yeah, I did this really stupid thing. I didn't go into full details because some of the server members are younger. Well, did I? I just said that I just wanted the heat to basically take me because I was in like at this point I was in like a major mental breakdown at this point. But I just basically told the server and I told a few of my friends I think like I am not going to return. I'm going to collapse and I'm likely going to die. Um, and so, the last road, the last kind of walk back to my house, I saw like a USPS truck or whatever. But I just continued because I was like, well, if the heat takes me, then that's not. I don't have to deal with the 17 problems that I listed. Remember the 17 problems? Well, I just don't have to worry about anything anymore. And so I get back to my house and I go into the air conditioner because it's funny. It's like, well, why didn't you just stay out in the heat if you wanted to? And it's like, I don't know. I don't know the question, or I don't know the answer to that. I just kind of thought to myself, like, well, if I make it to the house, then I'll get AC and I'll get milk. And if I don't make it to the house, then I'll be hopping, I'll be hopping on clouds, so to speak. Um, but I made it to the house very, very barely, and yeah, I made it to the house, and milk tasted absolutely amazing. We had a 2% half gallon of milk that I actually bought at a 7-Eleven the night before. They didn't have gallons. I can't tell you how amazing that's my calico, by the way. I can't tell you how amazing that the 2% milk actually, like, felt to me. I felt a bit nauseous, but I felt like very, very weak. Like, I wanted to just go to my bed and sleep. And so I go lay down in my bed, and for some reason, when I'm looking at my phone, It's not there's no hallucinations or anything, but it looks orange. Like the surrounding environment in my room looks orange in color. And I'm like a little bit, not like an orangish tint, basically. And I'm like, I've been out in heat a lot of times, and I've been close to collapsing many times, but I've never had this symptom before. And then well, I'm sorry. Basically, just okay. My bed also it feels like I'm floating on like a mattress that's in the air or whatever while I'm laying in bed as well, and I'm just like recovering from brutal heat. It was really strange, but I know. By the way, if you want conversions, I was carrying about 12 to 14 ounces of water. I would say probably 12, conservatively. That's about 355 milliliters. I remember that because I bought a glass Coke at the store, and it was 355, and that's 12 ounces. And um, and so yeah, I basically bought 0.355, just over 1/3 of a liter out with me. I was out there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe more, and it actually took me a while after the hike to actually realize. Now, the lake walk is not like up and down, right? But it's still like an asphalt walk, and it's 5.2 miles. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, and by the way, there's like not really any trees or anything like that either. It is very, very bare. And it was a purely sunny day. And I'm thinking to myself, um, oh, also there was a storm the night before that caused huge amounts of like puddles and flooding and things like that. And we got some damage here. We got hurricane force winds here the night before, actually. I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, yeah, I'm actually extraordinarily lucky to have survived this. And honestly, I think this was probably my most fatal, impulsive kind of uh, decision. It was my most impulsive thing to date. The highest risk, one of the highest risk, like, on purpose things to date. Now that I actually look back at all the factors, the medications, the long hair, the gray shirt that's cotton, the sleep deprivation of being up for 19 hours and having a faulty sleep schedule, bringing 12 ounces of water with no refills, that's room temperature, with no electrolytes. So, the margins that I actually got to making it back to the house were extraordinarily thin. Like, paper thin margins on actually getting back to the house and surviving. Um, I don't know how I did it. I I legitimately do think that the vast majority of people would have died under those same conditions. What I will say though is that, um, as far as the amount of liters you're supposed to bring, you're supposed to okay, you're supposed to bring, like, for somebody like me, probably 3 liters of water, 2.5 to 3 liters of water. But I think like anybody, for like most people, they would have to bring at least 1.5 to 2 liters of water at the very bare minimum. And I had what, like 25, like very, very low amounts compared to that. So yeah, I didn't even have half of what I should have, but I made it back. So I don't know how, but I did. Anyways, that's all. See ya.